We have a treat for you this morning, friends. Oscar-winning actor and, of course, comedian Monique and her husband, Sidney Hicks, join me now to get candid about a few things and set the record straight. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so of course, the Oscars were this weekend, and Monique, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the awards now? What does it feel like to see the Oscars continue to unfold?
Well, when you say what are my thoughts on the Oscars, my thoughts are what they've always been. It's another award show. That's basically it. It's I think that for so long we put the Oscars in this place of it's the be-all to end-all. But what we're finding out is it's another award show.
Right, just another award show. And this is for either of you, because you, of course, have been in this business and supporting each other together throughout this story. Do you have advice, for new winners? Like you obviously, you have a good, holistic perspective. What would you say to someone like Regina King this morning about things to keep in mind?
Well, what we got to understand is Regina King is one of our living legends. Regina King has been around, baby, for a long time, so she's well deserving of that. And I don't think that there is any advice that I could give to one of our living legends on what to do with a trophy, because her career speaks for itself. So I don't think that she would need any advice on what to do now with a gold-plated trophy.
Right. She's a queen and a king with her Oscar now. Well, of course, your interview and your conversation with Steve Harvey rightly had everyone talking for all kinds of reasons. Was it the reaction you expected?
The reaction from whom? The people or from...
Let's start with the people.
Well, there were quite a few reactions from people. I don't think that the reactions that were happening were surprising from both sides. Both sides reacted in a way that was not surprising. There were some people that said, listen, Monique, you keep standing for integrity. And there were some people that said, listen, Monique, listen to Steve and sit down and get that money. So it was a reaction both ways.
Both ways. Sidney, what was going through your mind when you saw the interview?
I thought it was par for the course, and I thought it was an interesting dichotomy between you seeing someone that says that we're black out here. I can't, stand for integrity and let my family crumble. I essentially have to get the money. And you see someone that says, what good is money without your integrity? I've oftentimes heard Steve speak in reference to one's moral compass, his godly nature, and which I dare not doubt. But then I've also heard people who quote the scriptures say, what good is it to gain the world but lose your soul? So it put me in that vein of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Where it felt like, why are we being asked to make a choice between being successful and doing so with integrity? Monique, Steve Harvey has said that he misspoke during his interview with you. I would say he also talked over you a lot. Do you accept his explanation for how that conversation went?
Well, I haven't heard Brother Steve say he misspoke. I've heard people say he said it, but I have not heard him say he misspoke. Now, if that's what he said, then that's what he said. But what I will say is I don't know how you misspeak on
something of that nature.
Right. So I don't know how you misspeak on it. But if that's what he said, then you would have to ask Steve Harvey what exactly did he mean when he said he misspoke.
Right.
And ever so humbly, there's video of him doing his stand-up performance, I would guess maybe 8 to 10 years ago, whereby he said that the black community would be mad at him for if he was offered $4 million, he would come in like a monkey with eating things off of himself. And if he was offered $10 million, he was swinging on the vine. That sounds to some degree like a level of foregoing integrity for the sake of money.
So knowing that, and obviously this is something you both have thought a lot about, Monique, what was your goal in sitting down with him? What did you hope to kind of accomplish in talking with Steve Harvey that morning?
Well, it was two friends sitting down having an open and honest conversation that was long overdue. And that's what exactly happened. We had a conversation that was long overdue. Now, there was a whole lot that you guys didn't get a chance to see that was cut out. So when you say it appears as if Steve was talking over me, Well, that's the parts that they chose to keep in. But it was a conversation that had to be had, because when I say to a man that I've been knowing for over 25 years, yourself, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, you all said that I did nothing wrong privately, but none of you were courageous enough to say it publicly. And a lot of that was cut out from that conversation, because when Steve Harvey does say, well, you know what, Monique, Oprah, Tyler, and Lee Daniels and Lionsgate, they were wrong. And they owe you an apology. But you owe them an apology too. And I said, Steve, you have to tell me what I'm apologizing for. Well, what you said. Well, what I say on that comedy stage, I will not waver from, and I will not apologize for it, because us as comedians, we actually get a chance to display our lives on stage and make it funny. So it was two people sitting down having open and honest dialogue that was long overdue, and it's still long overdue.
Yeah, and to that point, you mentioned Oprah Winfrey. If Oprah were looking into the camera right here, or basically standing where I'm standing, what would you say to her?
I would say, Oprah, have Sidney and I on Super Soul Sunday.
You the light that you are.
I would love to see that conversation for sure. And what is, and you mentioned with Oprah that it's long overdue. For people who perhaps haven't been following every aspect of it, where does Oprah come into this conversation for you?
Well, Oprah was one of the producers on the movie Precious. Oprah made the phone call to my husband and I, wanting to have me come to one of the film festivals. And she was going to send her private jet, and I respectfully declined. I was spending time with my family. Then she and my husband had a conversation for about an hour. Was that conversation?
That wasn't that conversation, but the conversation we had that day was for a few minutes.
And in reference to why I was not coming, she then said she understood, and we weren't wrong in the position that we were taking. Well, once you say that, and now you hear all this coming out, that I'm difficult and I'm demanding these things, and oh, they're so hard to work with. Well, you talked to us directly, and you said, I understand the position. But when it came out publicly that I was difficult to deal with and hard to work with, and I wouldn't promote this movie, well, Oprah Winfrey, you knew the truth. And you never came out and said, guys, that's not true. Tyler Perry, you knew the truth. As a matter of fact, baby, there's a woman in your office that has the audio.
Nyla Orr.
Of Tyler Perry saying, Monique did nothing wrong. And when my next movie come out, I'm going to go public and I'm going to say it. So with Lee Daniels on the phone with us, Mama, what you're doing is right, but I think it's going to be bad for you. So you have these powerhouse people saying, you're right. Steve Harvey, Mo, I know you're right, but could you have done it a different way? So you have these people all saying, I know you're right privately, but they all sat back and watched my career take a hit over a lie publicly.
I asked people this morning if they had questions for you. Many people send their love, by the way. Marcus Morris asked this. Since it seems that some of the issues Monique has with Black Hollywood of a certain age, and I think that's an allusion to people like Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, has she tried getting into production with younger people like Lena Waithe and Issa Rae, for example? Is that something you've been exploring or open to?
Well, we're open to things that make sense, baby. If they're 8 to 80, it has to make sense. And let me address something else too. It's not just Black Hollywood. It's Hollywood. And it's what's considered the powerful people. And these people that I'm addressing, they just happen to be Black. But right there is where we make the separation. They just happen to be Black people that are juggernauts in Hollywood, because you're talking about billionaires. You're talking about moguls. You're talking about owners of magazines and networks and studios. So I don't want us to just limit this to Black Hollywood.
because what was behind them was Lionsgate, and it's not necessarily Black Hollywood, despite the fact that they may showcase Black content.
Well, Sidney, you've compared what Monique has been through over the course of her career to the plight of civil rights leaders. Why make that comparison?
Well, when you're dealing with inequality, this is what civil rights leaders were fighting for, equality for people. And what happens is, in their time, you had people who were of all shades of the spectrum who said right is right and wrong is wrong. And essentially what we're saying here, when we break it down to the least common denominator, is treat people in the way that you want to be treated. If you, as a reporter or a journalist or a person in the media, is working for, in this case, BuzzFeed, and the Washington Post calls you and says, you do BuzzFeed so well, we want you to do a job for us. And you say, well, how much were you offering since we don't have any contract or anything between us? And they say, nothing. We just want you to come and do this for us. And you say, well, I appreciate the offer and the compliment, but I elect not to. And then the word on the street is that you are now difficult because you elected not to work for a powerful group of people. Do you think that would be fair?
I think it was something I'd have to definitely think through. I'm not going to act like I'd be thrilled.
Well, do you think that would be fair?
Do I think it would be fair? No. I mean, you need to get paid for your work, period. You know.
So what happens is people are under the impression that Monique asked for more money for the services that she rendered. She had a contract, an agreement with Lee Daniels Entertainment. That was it. Once she fulfilled her obligation in promoting the film, Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry got involved in conjunction with Lionsgate. Lionsgate, received a call because they said Monique did such an incredible job promoting the film. They wanted to know if she would be willing to promote the film for them internationally, which she was not obligated to do. After multiple times of respectfully declining their most gracious offer to do this for them for nothing, they then asked, well, what is it that we could possibly offer Monique in order to have her promote this film? And I said to them, was there a dollar amount that you had in mind that you wanted me to go back to her with? Trying to be an intermediary, which is my job. So at that point, they say, oh, no, well, we don't pay people for promotion. We said, we completely understand that. What she's saying is she does not work for people that she does not have a contract with unless she is purposely executing work on behalf of a charitable reason or cause, and a multi-billion-dollar company is not someone she does charity work for. So to be ridiculed by the public for doing something that you just deemed as not being fair, this is no different than the civil rights movement, because to be treated differently because of the color of your skin, is that fair? So you see the exact exchange between then and now. Nothing is different.
Nothing is different. Well, Sidney Hicks, Monique, I appreciate you coming on the show this morning, and frankly for continuing to talk about this, because as you've noted, it is difficult. It is not easy, and people are ready to challenge at any turn. But I would say, as someone working in media at the age of 33 myself, many of us certainly have benefited from the work you've done and the way you've advocated, even if people feel differently. So thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my love, and I hope I get a chance to see everyone this weekend at the SLS Hotel in Las Vegas. Monique does Vegas, baby.
Absolutely. That's her Vegas residency at the SLS Hotel, and Monique and Sidney's open relationship. That's on YouTube. You can watch that to continue to follow their story. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, baby.
All right. Up